Welcome. If you like this content, if you want to see more of it, I implore you to hit the like button down there, the subscribe button, get your notifications going if you're into that. Well, welcome to episode 4 of Comfortable Lies. I am, your host, Harry. This episode has been brought to you in part by Timothy Burchett. Timothy Burchett, you know who you are. I'm all you're paying for this. So, Presidon'tial. After the travesty of last week's debate and all the happenings that happened this week and all of the conspiracies running around, I can't not talk about this. I know I'm kind of breaking, sort of, with my my season plan of just dismantling Western culture for the shitstorm that it really is. But American politics is part of Western culture, so I guess it's okay that I can make this exception this one time. I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about next week. If you guys have any ideas, any thoughts on that, shoot me a comment in the bottom below, and I'll do a video. I mean, more the merrier. I don't mind. The debate, if that's really what you want to call it, I prefer to call it the debate, which was really just two septuagenarian idiots fucking screaming at each other for the course of who the fuck knows how long. I didn't even bother watching. I just know it from meme world on on the internet. I did read this morning a transcript, so a lot of the memery that's going around is really like half-truths, and I think that kind of needs to be said. Like people cheering about how Joe's telling fucking Donald to shut up, man. Yeah, he was telling him to shut up, man, in response to him going, I think the American people need to know why your family's getting money from mayors in Russia. Why is that happening? Millions of dollars being transferred to your family members. And then Joe tells him to shut up, and then the moderator's like, "Oh, I think we need to talk about climate change." It's very poignant and very directed that we are seeing things through lenses that aren't exactly telling us the truth. It's taking out massive amounts of context, and people are saying they're informed when they're really just misinformed, and they're making really shitty decisions based on that misinformation. So you had two turds on stage, they got polished, and they still looked like shit. This is what you got to choose from, because you, as the American people, the whole, can't manage to get your heads enough out of your asses to go, well, there's 1,122 people running for president. 3 of them are on the ballot in all 50 states, yet these 2 giant fucking turds is the best that you guys can come up with. It can only be one of these 2 idiots. You're causing your own fucking problem. And the problem here is that everyone who votes likes to yell, bitch, piss, and moan at people like me who don't vote, because we don't vote. We don't participate in this shit-shuffling fucking project that everyone else feels the need to spend their time on. The reality is, the reason why I don't vote is because no one that you guys give the time of fucking day for is worth voting for. I do vote. I vote every single election by not going. I have no fucking confidence in the best that you guys have to fucking offer. None whatsoever. I don't think Trump's going to save the world. I don't think Biden's going to save the world. I knew Obama wasn't going to save the world. I was damn sure Bush wasn't going to save the world. The last time I participated in a primary in the attempt to get somebody a fair shake, and he got lambasted like he was fucking Bernie Sanders. So, long story short, you're going to see a larger amount of people who are going to be like, no, go fuck yourselves, we're not voting for you, because you literally have two gigantic monsters of shit just sitting there as the only viable option. And why are they the only viable option? Because no one votes third parties. Why don't they vote third parties? Because third parties can't win. Why can't they win? Because nobody votes third parties. Are you noticing the fucking circle going on here? The Republicans were a third fucking party. Then Abraham Lincoln won. Oddly enough, everyone seems to be happy with Abraham Lincoln. To boot, we're going to have a really small election pool this year. I mean, if it's not, it's kind of evident that bullshit is going on, like literal bullshit's going on. I don't know how better to tell you this, but I have zero faith in the voting system as well. I live in the state that had negative 16,000 votes in 2000. Negative 16, how do you get negative 16,000 votes? Well, when you tamper with the system and you expect voter turnout to be X and it turns out to be X minus 16,000, well, guess what? There you go. And that's voter fraud, and that happens a lot. The reason why people go, oh, well, it doesn't really happen that much, you have less of a chance of voter fraud happening than this or that or the other thing, is because when it's done competently, you never know. It's sort of like going, you know, we knocked out all the drug deals because I've never seen anybody sell drugs. If you're that fucking dumb, you shouldn't be voting in the first place. I'm going to quote Carlin on that one. If you're that dumb, you probably should not be participating in politics in the first place. Let's do a rundown of what is really going on here. You have two candidates, which are apparently the best that America can come up with. And I do have a nifty little quote from a gentleman named H.L. Mencken. I am not good at memorizing anything, so when it comes to like quotes and stuff like that. So I'm just going to read it verbatim from the screen right over here. As democracy is perfected, the office of the president represents more and more closely the inner soul of the people. We move towards the lofty ideal. On some great glorious day, the plain folk of the land will reach their heart's desire at last. The White House will be adorned by a downright moron. That's what democracy gets you. It gets you the plain and the average, and they get, put up there as leaders. And this isn't just Donald Trump. This is Nancy Pelosi. This is every single one of those political people that you guys all sit there and praise or you sit there and admonish. They are reflections of you. All of you. There's something in them that you felt needed to be in a position of power. I didn't feel that. I didn't vote for them. I didn't vote for any of them. And just in case you're wondering, those guys who go, oh, but if you don't vote, you can't complain. I'm sorry, but when I don't play roulette, I can tell you how rigged the fucking game is. Guess what? I can complain all I want. I'm not dumb enough to keep putting fucking money on the table. Same thing. I didn't vote. It's not my fault that you guys have these pieces of shit, because if I voted, you'd still have these pieces of shit. There's more of you assholes than there is of me. And to boot, it's still a representation of my value by not voting. I'm participating in your process by saying, go fuck yourselves, you guys are pieces of shit. And I know you guys are, there's guys here who are very well invested in polishing that turd that they, no, my candidate isn't like that. Well, let me explain to you something. Up until 2016, no one claimed Trump was a racist. He was a businessman. He was a piece of shit and stuff like that. And everybody knew that. He was a womanizer. Everyone knew that. Everyone just accepted these things as reality. What people also didn't seem to realize is up until 2008, Joe Biden was a horrific racist, and then he got this big giant reputation polished by being the vice president of the first African American. And let me retrace this. He wasn't black, he was African American. And there's a big difference. And people who are actually black understand that difference. Because he was the vice president of the first African American president, that all of a sudden all the racist bullshit that he did was a complete wash. I want to note that none of the racist bullshit that he did in the 90s was washed. It was literally left in place. We're just going to assume the worst out of our federal government because I think we should at this point. I think it's fair. It's a fair treatment. You know, if you get punched in the balls every day when you walk past a certain person, you try to avoid walking past that person because you can assume that the next time you do, you're getting punched in the balls. Well, guess what, America? You got punched in the balls and you keep going back. So anyway, not only did Biden, as vice president, not press to end the mass incarceration of Black America, the criminalization of Black America and low-income America, even so far as on the campaign trail, he was literally gaffe after gaffe of racist comment, and yet you guys want to put him as the alternative because obviously Trump is a white supremacist and racist, because despite the fact that there's actual video of him at the time of Charlottesville, remember that shit show? Saying, listen, you know, I'm sure both sides of this argument have blah, 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 very fine people comment, blah, 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 blah. He also did say that he denounces white supremacy. But it's convenient to forget that because the media didn't highlight that. They just highlighted the very fine people comment. We're talking about a gentleman who posed with black rights activist leaders all through the 80s and 90s, Rosa Parks, you know, but obviously he is a gigantic white supremacist and only wants to kill all the black people. And on the other hand, you have Joe Biden, who by act of legislation has incarcerated millions of black people, but obviously he's not a racist because he was Obama's vice president. You do understand how sitcom, you know, primetime television the American brain has to be at this point in time to believe that bullshit? Because that's what I'm saying. Are they both turds? Absolutely. Did they both get polished? Sure. Neither of them are fucking good. I mean, they're both still pieces of shit. I don't know what to tell you guys. You guys literally can't distinguish from this. I believe now it's time for a message.
Tired of waiting and watching the stars align alone? Are you looking to sacrifice townsfolk with a special someone? Feeling like the unspeakable horrors of descended and madness unloved? Cultist Mingle is right for you. Our expert Shoggoth will select just the right mate to take long walks on the shore seeking the rise of relay. Cultist Mingle, putting the love in Lovecraft.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that message. I know I did. Okay, so I have another quote. Since the Biden campaign decided that they felt the need to use George Carlin as a political tool, I thought maybe some reference to that political tool that they decided to employ to try and win over the hearts and minds of Gen Xers like myself who have pretty much vacated the voting system in mass. I mean, there's a few people who are, blue no matter who. There are a few people who are Trump tards and what have you. But most of us, we have grown very sick of your bullshit. I mean, to be fair, we've had to foot the bill for everything everyone's complaining about nowadays for 2 decades before anyone else had to really even worry about it. You know, we got fucked, and we just were like, well, whatever. And you guys like literally leave us out of every conversation. You know, it's all about boomers, millennials, Gen Z. Those of us who actually are getting into the point of where we're supposed to be retiring, and there is no retirement for us. We're going to be the first generation of people who are completely unable to retire without becoming independently wealthy. So, George Carlin. George Carlin, he did a special where he talked about politics, and he talked about, what he does on election day, and a lot of people called me out for being privileged for saying pretty much the same thing. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I don't really see a general threat from the federal government to the day-to-day lives of the average American citizen, like they're going to take away female bodily autonomy rights. I don't see that as even a remote possibility. It was never a remote possibility, and every election for the last 16 years has been, oh, if we don't do this, it's gonna be like the Handmaid's Tale, and that's never gonna happen. I mean, I don't even think any of you guys actually read Margaret Atwood's book. I had to read it when I was in school. You know, I don't think any of you, I think you guys watched the Netflix series and decided that's what the book was like, and it's not. I mean, it's sad. There was actually a movie put out in the late 80s. Yeah. And that's a much closer representation to the book than that series is. I'm sure Margaret enjoys the extra fame and the money that comes from it being a Netflix series because, pop culture likes to pay people who confirm biases and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, I would check out the book itself and take a read and see what was really being said there, as opposed to it being a social commentary about how Trump and Pence are going to make women into slaves, because that's nowhere remotely close to what the Handmaid's Tale was like. Furthermore, so George Carlin, he went on a very big political bend. I don't think anybody is surprised that George Carlin was an admitted anarchist and did not participate in voting because he felt it was a rigged, unnecessary system. He often on stage referred to the owners. The owners are not Republican. The owners are not Democrat. The owners are people who control those puppets for you guys. And I know that's very conspiracy theory-esque, and I don't really like to delve into that type of stuff. But this is what he said. So there's that. We have to realize something, and this is a really important thing. The one thing that George Carlin never really complained about was politicians in and of himself, and this is the quote that supports that. Now, there's one thing you might have noticed I don't complain about. Politicians. Everybody complains about politicians. Everybody says they suck. Where do you think these politicians came from? They don't fall from the sky. They don't pass through a membrane from another reality. It's what our system produces. Garbage in, garbage out. If you have selfish, ignorant citizens, you're going to get selfish, ignorant leaders. So, really, when you guys are complaining about all of those politicians, what you're really doing is you're giving a reflection of yourselves. You're talking about yourselves, you the voters, because this is what you guys put forward. And I think that that's very important, that you guys need to actually start to come to grips with the fact that the buck doesn't end with anyone. It starts and ends you guys. So when you go, oh, well, the president isn't presidential enough, neither are you. And that's the point. You guys want to sit there and tell everybody else how they don't know how to run their lives, and you want to put somebody in place that can run their lives for them. I'm sorry, but you're no better qualified for selecting a leader than your neighbor who you're complaining about his fence being a little shoddy or whatever the fuck. The reality is, if you're looking at your leaders, and when I say your leaders, I'm talking about you guys, because I don't look up to these pieces of shit at all. It doesn't matter if they have a D, an R, an L, a G. I don't give a flying fuck. I don't need a king. When you're looking at your leaders and you're going, oh, everybody brought these big giant piles of shit here. You did too. You literally brought a big giant pile of shit onto your front lawn and decided that this was a good thing. A while ago, I posted a meme created by Donna that, stated, it doesn't matter if you eat from the right side or the left side of a shit sandwich, you're still eating shit. And you guys have to start coming to grips with this reality. You guys created this problem, you guys are perpetuating the problem, and you guys are refusing to learn from this problem. So you're going to continue having this problem until idiocracy becomes reality. And it doesn't need to be a Republican that makes idiocracy happen. It easily can be a Democrat, because they're literally the same party at this point. If you think anything but superficial differences fall between these two, then you are part of the problem. Now, because this series is called Comfortable Lies, I do kind of feel like I should call out the comfortable lies that people tell themselves when the subject of politics comes up. First, the social contract. I'm sorry, I didn't sign shit. When I was signed up for the social contract, I wasn't even allowed to consent. So I'm fairly certain that idea is completely bunk, just based on the ideas of consent. Just because you happen to pop out of a womb somewhere doesn't tie you to that society, doesn't tie you to those social rules. And the weird thing is the people who promote this idea of a social contract are the same ones who are really angry about social constructs involving things like gender roles, social expectations of people based on their genitalia and stuff like that. But for some strange reason, the place where you pop out of a womb should have all the bearing of you being tied to social constructs, just as long as they don't involve what is or is not swinging between your legs. To be fair, if you don't have something swinging between your legs, you could be male or female. Micropenises and trans people are still, people. The other really important lie that people tell themselves is, oh, well, when my guy gets in office, we're going to hold him to his promises. Yeah, that didn't fucking work out too well now, did it? I mean, we spent 8 years of Obama, who was supposed to be the anti-war president. That was, what was it? Code Pink? Code Pink. The people who fucking disappeared the day after Obama got inaugurated. They literally were going to fucking military people's funerals, calling these people baby killers. And fair. Okay, the U.S. military is not very precise most of the time. So when our military, the United States military is an invading force in another country for whatever reason, the expectation that they are going to have collateral damage is very high. So yes, children, women, non-combatants get killed every time the United States gets militarily involved, whether it's by design or by accident. Okay? Let's be fair. I'm pretty sure nobody really wants to go and kill babies. Well, almost nobody. But I'm pretty sure that's not why people sign up for the military. I'm not going to question the motives of veterans and current active military members, I don't think that that's appropriate for this. Maybe in another video, but you know, for this, I think I'm just going to keep my mouth shut on that one. But the fact of the matter is that we just spent 4 years with a Cheeto as president, and nobody held him accountable to shit. And the funny thing is everybody who is a blue, no matter who is a leftist, who is a liberal, all lights the fucking Republicans up and the Trump tards up and all those fucking morons up about how they have to hold him accountable. But yet we spent 8 years with Obama. The best thing about accountability that they did is he melon-balled this fucking healthcare bill that fucked anybody who had insurance and barely helped anybody who didn't. Let's be fair, because that's actually what happened, as opposed to what was supposed to happen according to what everyone promised. And he didn't stop any of the wars. He, in fact, got us involved in more military conflicts. So much for a Nobel Peace Prize. He did, although, do a first as president. He was the first Nobel Peace Prize recipient who bombed another Nobel Peace Prize recipient. So, I mean, there's that. That's something to be proud of. People like to go, oh, well, there's no scandals about his personal life. Who gives a shit? He literally killed people. He literally was okay with people being killed. He drone-struck fucking hospitals. He drone-struck weddings. And the fact that this asshole does more, you have to realize the precedent was set by the previous administration. Generally, this is what happens, and no one seems to want to come to grips with the reality that when power changes hands, all that power you gave to the guy you agree with, you now gave it to the next guy. And if you don't agree with him, maybe you should be thinking better about what power you're giving people. The reality is that the American population has been sold on fisting off responsibility upward. And there's a cost to that, and that cost is your individualism, your individual freedom. You are no longer really free the minute you give up any responsibility. The reason why it seems okay to blow up people on the other side of the planet is because you're not doing it. You're not pushing the button. You're not calling the shot. You can go, well, that's not me, that's my government. I don't agree with what my government's doing. Well, obviously you do because you participate. But you get to be innocent because you're not the one actually killing people. I'm sorry, but you're not innocent. None of you are. You're all very guilty of robbing from your neighbor, of killing people overseas, killing people here, destroying families here. This is all stuff that you do. You do it on a daily basis because you participate in a rigged system that's literally only goal is your personal enslavement. In conclusion, Presidon'tial seems to be the call sign for what we have as candidates today. I mean, to be fair, we do have more candidates than the two fucking chuckleheads, but the American people literally can't be bothered to make choices beyond those two. So, you guys are going to end up choosing yet another authoritarian, psychotic, racist, bigoted piece of shit, and I'm going to continue to be disappointed with all of you. That's just the way that's going to roll out. Sorry, but that's the truth right there. If you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed being called out for, you know, the hypocritical piece of crap that you are, you know, do the things. If you want to hear me talk about other things, by all means, shoot me a comment. Let me know what you want. I have an open schedule. I have to plan my next one starting today, so this way I'm at least ready for, you know, when I'm recording. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.